necessary.
And then you might push it.
I have it on my computer.
We're still thinking.
Oh, we have.
And how much money can I do that?
There we go.
Y'all ready? Good evening. Welcome to the Port Thomas Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, August 21st, 2024. First off on the meeting agenda this evening is a review and approval of our meeting minutes from July 17th.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
A motion and a second. Is there any other questions or comments? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes from July 17th, 2024. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So ordered. The next item on our agenda is a land addition plat, the 43 Barrett Drive in Fort Thomas, and we'll let Kevin give a little bit of information.
Yeah, there's not a lot here. There's just a small sliver of property that one neighbor requested from the other and obviously agreed to. We checked all the current setbacks for current and proposed setbacks that actually seems to make it a little bit better as far as being more conforming versus the prior line being a lot closer to what you see as the deck on the one property. So don't see any issues here. We looked at all the meets and bounds, the legal description, and everything appears to be in order.
So it's going from 51 to 43, from Dierig to Green.
Yes.
I'll move to approve this is a land addition plat for exchange for 43 and 51 Barrett Drive as submitted.
Second. Anybody else have comments? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the plat as submitted for a land addition plat from, for Shawn and Nicole Green at 43 Barrett Drive. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So ordered. Next up, Conveyance Plat at 19 Fairview Place.
So this is the creation of a lot, kind of a flag lot behind the existing home. They're typically in your cul-de-sacs, there's not this much frontage, but they had enough frontage to create that 25-foot flag. The most notable thing here that was kind of, we were dancing around with the surveyor and the owner was the fact that you'll notice the side setback in red. It's in that flag stem, noted at 6.38 and 9.62. They do average out to 8 feet. And based on our zoning ordinance, there is a stipulation in there that allows the side property line to average out to the 8 feet, and it doesn't have to be an absolute 8 foot at the closest point. So I don't believe that's going to be in our new zoning ordinance, that they're going to kind of remove that section that kind of gives a little less flexibility, to be quite honest, in that regard. But that's the most noticeable thing here, that they kind of needed to create that 25-foot flag stem and did meet that regulation because it does average out to the 8 feet. It's required for that zone. The size of the existing lot that's where the house is retained is adequately sized per our zoning regulation and does meet all those regulations.
Is this whole area R1C?
Yes.
What's that line, the red line says new house, is that where they're gonna put the new house?
That's where they're proposing to put a house, yes. It does slope off rather quickly.
Topography goes,
It's steep enough that they want to stay off the hill, let's put it that way, and they want to kind of tuck it in there behind the other house. It has a feeling like it might be a relation. I don't know for sure, didn't dig into that, but it has that feel.
Is that a sanitary sewer back in the back there?
Yes. I don't know if the sanitary or storm off the top of my head. I just remember there being a utility back there.
Okay. I just want to make sure there was no kind of a, access easement back there for the sewer line, that is through that flagstone.
Now that you mention it, we may want to request that I don't know for sure where the current house accesses the sewer. And if they do access it at that point back there, we may want to assure that there's an easement associated with that, with their lateral. I think that could certainly be a condition, but it may be something that we want to investigate and see if there is sanitary out in the street and see where they access it, and then make sure that there is a lateral easement for the lateral.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, where they've identified their building pad for the house, if there's not, an easement running through there or utilities running through there.
Right. Yeah, and looking at it, I don't think there was a lot of utilities, but it's more the what could have been with, now that you mention it, what could have been with the existing house.
Right. Yeah, I have no idea which way the pipe network runs out down there.
Do we have a requirement on like density, like how large a lot should be for a home? I mean, is there?
So there's a square footage, and the existing footprint does meet that minimum square footage. We looked at that. That was kind of what we thought we might ding this one on. Well, initially it was the 25-foot stem. You were required to have a minimum of a 25-foot stem, and they were pushed over to that 8 feet initially, and did not meet that 25-foot. But, after they actually discovered that code section on their own about the 8-foot average, and then, yes, certainly the square footage, it felt a little small, but it did meet the minimum restriction. The minimum restriction for R1C is like either 6,500 or 7,000 square feet.
Thank you.
The east property line where it hits the right of way for Fairview Place doesn't have a pin there, but there's a pin like 10 feet off of them. Is that a drafting error, or do you know what's going on there? It's just a dot in the middle of the next lot.
I can certainly investigate that.
Yeah, before we approve it, if that's a mistake, I should.
is there a house over there on that lot we're talking about? Yeah, on the right there?
As far as proximity, it doesn't feel like it was that close.
There's something there.
I'd have to pull up. I remember it not feeling as much of an imposition on the next house based on where it was going to be. So it might be a larger lot there, but I can look it up quickly. I mean, once again, in the end, that's somewhat irrelevant, but obviously.
I'm just curious whether we're going to start seeing a whole lot.
Well, and
Same type of thing happen.
Well, and honestly, that was my fear as well. And we kind of started looking, and in most cases, your cul-de-sac lots actually come down to a pie, so they don't have enough frontage to make it work. This is just somewhat uniquely shaped. I don't see this as being a trend. We actually, if you look at, I shouldn't say any street in Fort Thomas, but a lot of streets have rather large lots. If you look at many streets, they have lots that are well above what is the minimum required, but they don't have the frontage. And there's no way to get a flag lot in. So there's really no way to overdevelop, a lot of a given street that's already, I guess, in place in most cases. You have those anomalies where there's a vacant lot that somebody bought a vacant lot at one time that they could potentially do something, but we were kind of scanning the city a little bit for similar situations and didn't dig in deep, but there wasn't really too many of them that were jumping out that would be like this, that would really, like I said, start a trend.
According to what I saw on Zillow, there's a house on that Lee Revocable Trust, the PID, which is the one to the east that you just mentioned, where the errant point is on the map. There's a home, like basically,
Right
if
there.
you look at where it looks like the mowing line, maybe 8 to 10 feet away from the property line. And that looks,
Close.
it's pretty tight, yeah.
It is pretty close, I'm looking right now.
Put 25 feet in there.
Oh, you know what I'm saying?
But that property line's not moving anyway, correct?
No.
So,
You probably can't move it because it's too close.
well, that's what I'm saying, so doesn't,
Yeah.
like to Kevin's point, it doesn't really matter per se. I guess one other thing I was wondering about, that dash line that's in the back here, do you know what that is?
That's what I'm wondering too.
Looks like a creek. It says creek on it.
It does.
Does it say creek?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
really
is a
small.
creek. It is a creek.
Oh,
back
My
there.
eyes are still, I can still make it out.
It's a creek
I'm not
back
there for too much longer, but.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a creek, I'm positive.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see
Yeah.
the text now.
If they could clean up the plat, they've got some curve data in the middle of the land surveyor notes that don't belong there.
Yeah.
And there's a redundant bearing that's kind of floating out in space there, right above the word conveyance plat. They really need to just clean this up and make it right.
Okay. What was the first thing you said, Jerry? Just on,
Up in the upper left corner where there's land surveyor's notes.
Up here.
They've got some curve data that I don't know if they moved it out of Fairview places to get out of the way computer-wise and then forgot to erase it.
thank you.
And right above the title conveyance plat, there's a bearing.
I see that.
Yeah, they just copied it over and didn't move it out of the way.
And then whatever that property corner is, the black dot there, they should do that before they submit it to us.
Yeah, it looks like there is a house on that next lot.
About the same distance as
Re-
from that other one.
Relatively close, but I guess when you put the flag lot back there, it's most obviously closely affecting the house it's separated from.
Can we
If
ask,
they put a new flag lot driveway right down the middle of 25 foot will help,
Yeah.
both sides.
can we ask for any type of like, is they're gonna build that out for the homeowner and the Lee Revocable Trust, and they're putting it so close to that property line, any type of buffering?
We can't, it's all residential, you really can't require anything. They can go to those minimum setbacks when they go in there. There's really nothing we can, hopefully they would be somewhat accommodating, but I think the problem is the slope of that hillside, they're gonna wanna tuck it up in there as close as they can to, save on foundation costs. So unfortunately, we can't really require anything like that.
I'll make a motion to approve the conveyance plat on 19 Fairview Place if they make those adjustments to the conveyance plat that we discussed, just cleaning up some of the errant notes, figuring out why that iron pin is in the middle of the next property. And
You want to do anything about the sanitary sewer designation or easement?
Well, investigation of any existing utility easements.
I think if this were at a regular plat size, we could read that stuff. It's, when it's down at 8.5 by 11, it's kind of tough to read.
Yeah.
I traditionally have been probably not as sensitive to that as I should have been, but now that I'm getting to this point in I'm becoming a little more sensitive to it, so I apologize for that.
Well, the sewer line does say SS along that, which I would assume is sanitary sewer.
You know, it could be storm, but it's probably sanitary. That would be my guess. And that would be the one thing that we may want to note there lateral.
Well, I would second Jerry's motion.
Before you vote on it, can I have one more question? How did you figure out the average of 8 feet? I'm just trying to figure that out, like what your, where do you average it and from what point did you average it?
I mean, essentially, the front of the house and the back of the house, those points are pretty much at the front and the rear. And if you take the 6.38 and the 9.62 is 16, divided by 2 is the 8.
Okay. All right, thank you.
It's not a common thing it's not a common thing we do. We traditionally try and stick to the minimum 8 foot, and that's what our new zoning ordinance will reflect.
Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second to conditionally approve the conveyance plat for 19 Fairview Place, subject to removing the errant labeling on the plat, investigating the property pin at the front corner at Fairview Place, as well as investigating the need for any or the existence of any utility easements on the newly created lot. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So ordered.
Is there a sidewalk in? I'm just curious.
It states that on there that they're going to remove that sidewalk, because it goes around the
No,
house.
that one on the street.
Oh, public sidewalk?
There's not.
There's nothing in the
The
side.
overhead doesn't show it.
The last item on the agenda this evening is to set a public hearing for the revision to the city development ordinance for October 1st, 2024.
Yeah, so you'll notice on the agenda that it is proposed to be set for October 1. I think we talked about that at the last collective meeting, that we were going to be able to get a quorum there. The one question, we are going to have it at the mess hall. We are going to be sending out, obviously, a lot of notices to those those folks that are affected by zone change. We are going to send out additional information, a lot of those letters that will help answer some questions. My information is on there that folks can call me, and hopefully I can describe to them what's going on to lessen the impact of the meeting. That being said, we are proposing October 1, which is a different date than we normally have. It's a Tuesday, partially because of the farmers market up there. I didn't want to clog things up too much, but also I did not put a time on there. I wanted to ask the commission what they thought about moving the time up, possibly. Traditionally, we have a 6:30 meeting, and a 7 o'clock public hearing. So the thought process was that this might be a long meeting, and if we could bump it up a little bit, that's certainly not adversely affecting folks getting home from work. But I don't know how early is too early for you all. I think we still should set a time for our business meeting if other plats and things come up. So I was thinking either, and once again, it's based on your availability, but either 5:30 and 6 or 6 and 6:30, just to move it up just a little bit to not be here late. So I wanted to let that to your pleasure to make a motion for the time or discussion for that matter.
I'm sorry, I wasn't here at the last meeting at the end of July. Why are we doing it on the 1st rather than in the middle of the month?
It was essentially trying to find the right time for everybody, to be quite honest.
Well, so are we going to cancel our regular meeting on the 3rd Wednesday?
So we may or may not. The thought process too was, attempting to try and get this thing done before the end of the year as well. We're having a new council that would come in January, and if we can accommodate that, get the first and second reading, if it all works out, if it all works out, that it wouldn't be convoluted by a potential new council member that would vote on it and things of that nature. That's why we kind of want to bump it up. And we obviously have to have notice. We have to have 30-day notice to these folks. So we are preparing internally to get letters out next week. So they'll have a 30-day notice. So that's why it was kind of pushed up just a little bit. We don't know how things will go depending on the audience participation, whether or not the Planning Commission will feel compelled to make a vote that night. The thought is that if they do not, we would have the meeting on the normal scheduled meeting for them to absorb some of the comments and maybe make a motion and vote at that particular time.
When you said planning commission make a vote, are we voting to send that draft as it now exists or exists at the time to council?
Yes.
Because we don't approve.
Precisely.
Okay, so that's the vote we would be doing.
Right, and once again, whether that be that night, if you feel comfortable, or to absorb it and do that at the following planning commission, normally scheduled planning commission meeting, we could do that and then pass that on.
When's the final proof going to be available?
She's working on finishing everything up. It'll be available by next week. Before we send out the letters, we have to have that kind of in our possession by the time the letters get out. So she's doing some finishing touches. We had a couple questions that came up, and we're just getting that final touches of the map as well. There was a couple things that were outstanding. Should be next week.
So what'll happen in our September normal schedule meeting? Maybe nothing.
Maybe nothing. I mean, if we have anything come up like a plat or anything, it certainly won't be associated with this zoning ordinance update, but just, it would just be any plats or anything else, any other business that might come up.
I mean, once it's submitted to council, it's in their court to act, how they ever choose to do that. But, I guess what I'm anticipating, I can't say how long the public hearing is going to be, but I'm anticipating it's probably going to go long. I would doubt that we would be able to vote on it that night, and then we would go to our regular meeting, be able to have more discussion amongst ourselves. If there would be anything that we would want to change based on the hearing, at least we'll have opportunities, and then vote at our regular meeting. That's what I would guess.
And it's something that I think we do want to get through. I know we sometimes peel out at a certain period of time but I think we do want to be prepared that evening for, to get through it, because the public notice, if we extend it, then we have to go through all the public notifications again. It's rather involved, to say the least. So we would like to get through it that night.
I think 6:30 is okay for the public hearing.
6 for us.
Yeah.
I'm good at
6 might be a little early for someone who works.
I'm good at 5:30.
Yeah, I'm retired. I can do it anytime.
Early.
I'm concerned about you working people.
Oh, I'm good.
Not retired though.
I'm good.
No, I can do anything.
Okay.
Larry, what do you think?
I can do anytime.
I can do 5:30.
Dave?
I could do 5:30.
I'm not available right now on the 1st, so it doesn't matter to me. But
You always have backup plans.
so I'm going to try to get available, but I've got a meeting scheduled right now.
I'm convenient.
I mean,
Can we join?
I can do 5:30 too. I mean,
And 5:30 would be the business meeting. Once again, 5:30 would be, if we have any business, and the actual public hearing would be at 6.
I mean, I think one thing that if we did it that way, if you have the actual hearing at 6, a lot of people come home from work, don't have to go home, come back. It's more of a hassle for people. I think it's more.
Well, maybe the 6 to public.
No, I don't think. I mean, in most projects that I've been involved in, a lot of times we'll have dual meetings, or we'll have a meeting during the day and a meeting in the evening. And most of the time we try to start those, 5-ish o'clock, so people can come on the way home from work. So I had.
If we have
Motion, we have 5:30 for the regular and 6 o'clock for the public hearing.
Yeah.
If we have nothing to discuss for us, do we still have to have our meeting, or just be there at 6?
We could probably just be there at 6. I mean, traditionally, we have always had some level of business, but I don't think we would have to. We could notify everybody and, hey, be there for the public hearing.
Can't start prior to a published time at 6 o'clock.
Right.
For the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to set a public hearing for the zoning ordinance review. If we have a business meeting at 5:30 PM on October 1st, if not, then we'll start the public hearing at 6 PM on October 1st. At the mess hall.
Second.
Any other
Comments?
comments? So we have a motion and a second to set the public hearing on October 1st at 6 PM at the mess hall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That works. I guess, Kevin, are we going to get a hard copy of the final draft, or just an email, or a link?
Honestly, I haven't thought that far. I mean, initially we would start with a link, but I will check into that. See if we can, what's the request? Would you all like hard copies or for the final draft, or you?
I would,
It's
honestly.
always nicer to turn through it and mark it up.
Yeah, just, it's easier to read at your leisure if it's not on the computer necessarily.
Okay, initially you might not, but
No, I mean, you could send both, obviously. You could send a link, but it'd be nice to have hard copy.
Well, if they change, I doubt if they're gonna change it, but if they do, hopefully we just get a few pages to sub in there and we got a final copy on our desk forever.
Right, and I mean, I think if there are comments that come up or questions that come up in the hearing, if we have a binder there, we can page through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Section. It's just a little easier to flip around. And,
Do you have an agenda? I mean, do you know who's going to be there and how the meeting's going to proceed?
You know, not particularly, honestly, at this point. I think honestly it will open up pretty quickly to public comment. I would say. Just thinking about it. I don't know if we consider doing it section by section, perhaps. We've got 3 or 4 different sections of folks that we're sending letters to. Maybe we could consider doing, hey, anybody that wants to speak about the Midway district, or this district or this district. I don't know. I haven't really thought about that, but maybe we could
That makes sense to keep.
compartmentalize a little bit. General comment. We gave one as a general comment section. We could have hey, if you want to say anything about this. Could be something to consider. I think we do want to consider a maximum time frame. I know council, they have a time frame, and I think to get through it, I think we have to do that. And I don't know what that number should be. Council, I think
did council ever adopt like a written policy on public comment?
I don't know that it's a formal policy, but
I sent them out, I believe it's been enacted, it's 5 minutes. Most city councils are 3. I know Bellevue is 3. I believe Dayton is 3. 5 minutes is a long time.
Drifts into 5.
Right.
But we're gonna present section A through B and then let them speak, or
No,
we can't let them,
Good.
if we can't present that whole thing and wait till the end for the
Yeah.
public to talk.
Yeah.
No, we're not presenting anything. It's already out there in the ether. We're not, Elisa isn't going to have a big, long spiel or speech, I don't believe. I mean, she might have
That's what I
any.
mean, it's a public hearing, so is it gonna go on, hey, we've already put it out there and we hope you read it? Or we
I mean, well, in reality,
put it up on the screen event?
how much can you speak to it, though, is the problem. With that large of a document, I don't believe you can, appease all of the residents in any given,
Well, I always
ask-
encourage her to take that whole thing you did and create a synopsis that's maybe 3 PowerPoint sleeves. We did a lot of work, a lot of it's education. We inventoried everything in the city. I don't know if everybody knows that, but that was pretty easy, really. That we inventoried the properties, we know what they are. We created X number of new zone, whatever. We still got 3 business districts. A lot of it's the same.
Yeah,
They're getting all excited about the language a lot of times.
right. And maybe we can
What has not
preface,
changed?
maybe we can preface that. I'll speak to Lisa, but maybe we can preface it with, something that might be really informative up
You're
front.
probably getting some people out there who have never attended one of these meetings.
Right. I mean, I don't necessarily know that you need to go through the technical content of the ordinance itself at the meeting, in detail. But I do think it would be beneficial to explain the process of how we got to where we are, what the intent and the agenda is for the public hearing, and then what the next steps are after that. Just, a 10-minute summary of this is, so people understand,
This is what we've done, how much time we've spent on this.
well, that hearing is to get input from the public. Following that process, the planning commission itself will,
It's like, you know, we
convene
started
and
with like.
discuss, and then make our recommendation to submit it to council for approval, and then that whole process
Yeah.
kind of starts again.
If we've got that presentation from Elisa, I would recommend that she put that out with the link or whatever.
Oh, absolutely.
Make that available before.
We're going to get it out there. It's going to be, we're going to get it out there, yes, absolutely. It's going to be on the website.
I understand the code section, the code, but I'm talking about if we have this synopsis or whatever about the whole policy or the procedure.
Process.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's important that, you know, we're not the only city doing this. We did this because other cities were doing it. I think if she can speak for 5 minutes, it shows her credibility. You know, nobody out there is going to challenge her on the details of this thing.
That's not going to make any difference. But I'm fine with that.
Well, I think it does.
Her homework, that's
Yeah.
what she's.
I mean, I think it's just good to explain the process and what, you know, what you're inviting the citizens to do and what their role is in this and, you know, the opportunities they have to speak either at that public hearing or subsequently with council. And, you know, ultimately the decision is with council.
Well, we anticipate some of it coming in emails early, that you guys will have an opportunity to review. We're hoping that people take advantage of that, because you're limited with how many people can speak, but if everybody's given an opportunity to give email criticisms or advice or suggestions ahead of time, hopefully that'll make it a little better process.
Well, and if you do break it up into sections, you're probably going to want to put out the procedure for, do you have 5 minutes to talk about each section, or do you get one 5-minute shot the whole night, or, I mean, just depending on how it's done.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do that as far as trying to organize the, you know, the topics, I guess, I think it would be good to have at least some basic level agenda of, you know, to kind of guide that input. I guess one other thing, in terms of the map, the zoning map itself, so you're going to include that in the letter notifications, or?
I don't think it's included, but we're going to have a link to that on our website. We're going to have all that on the website.
I think it might be beneficial to have a hard copy, or maybe a couple of hard copies at the meeting, so people could, like on a poster board or an easel, because, you know, some people, depending on how the map is done, it might be easier for people just to go up and look at it, and they can find their house or their property and say, oh, that's where I am, this is what zoning classification I'm in. I think it just helps people sometimes to just have a hard copy there to look at, maybe, and given this situation, maybe have a couple of them.
Yeah, and I would agree 100%. I think I haven't really processed all this, so I think that's definitely something that we'll be talking about, Elisa and I, to prepare for the meeting. She's obviously been through the process a number of times and might have some additional insight that we haven't thought about. You know, beyond that, I'm hopeful that by putting this advertisement out, that folks are calling me, that I'm giving a lot of this information in advance.
I guess the other suggestion is just in terms of comments, it might, you know, I know beyond just organizing it by kind of topic area, sometimes depending on the meetings I've been in, they've done it different ways, but sometimes it's, you know, whoever signs up first goes first and so on, or sometimes you put it into like alphabetical order. And you instead of just waiting for people to randomly come up to the podium, you call out the participants and say, you know, call their name and say, please provide your comment.
And that's what we do at council, there's a sign-up sheet.
Right.
and
So I would advocate to have a sign-up sheet at the meeting for people, and they, you know, they don't have to sign up ahead of time, but, you know, at the meeting, and try to get as many people as you can organized and call them out instead of just letting people, you know, queue in line.
Everybody stare at each other and
Right. You know, who's going up
a
next?
minute pause.
You just want to keep the flow going, and you know, give everybody the opportunity to say what they
The
want.
classic thing, if one person's already addressed it, you don't need to do it again.
I think that'll be a statement that we make up front, you know, something along the lines of that, hey, if you feel this exact same way, please make that note that we can tally that you feel the same way, but you don't need to say it again.
And everything's.
Right. I mean, you can't keep people from making comments.
Precisely.
But ask them if they don't have anything substantially different to say, to just say that, or just say they don't need to speak, or whatever the case is. But you can't really tell people they can't say anything, but just
Precisely.
just in the interest of time and everybody's time.
Do we have I mean, based on someone else's experience from this, you know, this community, like how many people we might expect? Obviously, you're putting it over at the as a fourth there, so.
How many letters are you putting out, do you know?
In the old days, not many.
Yeah.
Right, we're putting out a couple hundred letters because it is, we are affecting the entire spine, north and south Fort Thomas, and then, the zones that are changing. So, I don't know if it was 200 and change, something like that. So, once again, hopefully we can quell some of that with our letter that we submit with it for certain areas. We have different areas that there's a letter going out with certain areas. So there's no way of knowing. I'm gonna put up as many chairs as I can. It's going to be in and around I'll check with Elisa too, in and around the projection screen. I'm assuming that she's gonna have some sort of a, presentation. So we want to kind of circle it around that. But
Well, 5 minutes per person, if that was the case, you only get 12 an hour. So, and if people are pretty passionate about it, they're gonna take their time up and continue just,
Maybe.
I don't know. Some people will, some
In
people
the
won't.
past, we had maybe 100, but only 20 would speak.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm
Yeah.
just intuitively, I would say there might be 100 people there, and to Dan's point, maybe a quarter of those would speak. So, but you're still thinking, that's still 2 hours of comment.
Which is good. We want to give people encouragement. to do that.
So if we start at 6, you're going to 8 or 9 just with comments.
We've been working on this for 3 years, and we need to get it done.
Yeah.
Right.
So if we need to stay till midnight, we need to stay till midnight.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the thought of trying to shorten it up to 3 minutes, because generally they probably can get most of their point across in 3 minutes, especially if you want them to go back multiple bites of the apple, right? If they're gonna go this section and this section.
Right.
This section.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
Well, I think
Time to set your code of conduct on your meeting.
And we've always been better at letting the people talk, maybe too long.
Probably.
Wrong time.
I think we would have to have the law.
Council's supposed to speak at the beginning, right?
Right.
And you don't even, you're not really talking about what's gonna happen after you talk. We're gonna mix it in to some degree. Now, do you mix it all, put it all at the end, or you put it in segments?
Technically, you close the public hearing and then you have your discussion.
Yeah, but on this one, we're gonna have probably a third of what we're talking about, maybe another third, another.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying.
All the way to the end is ridiculous.
Right, but we're not gonna like take 20 minutes and then have a long discussion and then
No.
another 20 minutes and have a long discussion. That's what I'm thinking. We probably won't get into detailed discussion until the following meeting. Probably.
Well, we'll circle up these ideas and have this discussion and try and keep you in the loop before it happens and that you are aware of what's going to happen.
Are all the letters going to be substantially the same other than the specifics of the contact person and whoever?
Substantially the same. There's a different paragraph for a couple of the different zones that kind of describe it a little bit, and then there's an additional letter for the spine. We think that that's the most affected people, that we have kind of a question and a fact sheet, I guess you would say, associated with that one. And so substantially they're the same though.
The only thing I was going to say, to me anyway, I think it'd be beneficial if we don't have the copies of the specific letters, but a generic copy of what you're sending out, just so we're aware of what people see when they come to the meeting, so we know what they're, if they start talking about the letter, we know what the letter actually says.
Sure.
So it'd be good to have that, just for reference.
Absolutely.
Expecting council people, they may be there or not. We shouldn't be really.
Well, they're allowed to be there. They're members of the public, but we are probably going to talk to them about what they should and shouldn't do. I think that's going to be.
We don't want them to talk, really.
They're permitted to be there, we can't stop them from being
Public.
there. What I told them, they'll have a quorum there, but they're not going to be talking about official business, so it's okay. But they're permitted to listen. I don't want them talking to the public about it at that point because I don't think it's appropriate. They shouldn't interact with you guys and they shouldn't interact with one another.
They're listening.
It's okay to say hi, chit chat,
Yeah.
but absolutely no discussion regarding
Yeah,
this matter.
this issue.
And none until it comes before
Mhm.
their meeting.
Yeah.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion to the second to adjourn.
Amen.
Are we going to get to ask a question? I just have a
Go ahead.
question or two. What is the time frame that the document needs to be posted online before the hearing can happen?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not sure. Lisa's kind of directing us there. We're proposing to have it out there 30 days in advance.
Okay.
It would be like the end of next week.
Okay, because sometimes it's really difficult, like if you type in UDO, it doesn't come up.
We're gonna put it in multiple spots.
Okay,
We're gonna put it on the main page, like you open it up, we're gonna have it out there. Call me if you can't find it, but we're not just gonna put it in the same spot. We're gonna put it in the same spot we've been putting everything. We're gonna put it dead center front and on when you open the page.
okay, so you think it'll be 30 days before the actual hearing? Is that a requirement before
So
October
the
3rd?
30 days is for the letters and the notifications, and we will have that document before we send that out. We'll have it by the end of next week. My intention is to put it on the end of next week, before that 30 days.
And then just real quick, I know that council had asked for the changes between the first one and the last one. Will that be there as well?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure how Lisa was.
I didn't anticipate that being the case.
Well,
It'll have the
just-
changes from the last draft to this.
Oh, from the last draft, okay. Well, I mean, if you have the first one and you have the last one, it's an easy Word document to do.
Okay.
So, okay. Thank you, that's all I have.
Kevin, the other thing I might suggest is if you're gonna make binders for us, you might wanna have a couple in the office.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because people that aren't computer savvy.